some reason, discussing death feels uncomfortable for many people, including my friends and family. But for me, the thought of death is what keeps me alive. Let me explain. I remember when I was around 11 to 13 years old, I started having dreams about my grandpa, the one I never met because he passed away 6 years before I was born. All I had of him was a picture at my grandma's place, right in the living room. These dreams made me think about death for the first time. As a kid, I couldn't understand why I was dreaming about someone I never met. There was no logical explanation. Yet there he was, talking to me in my dreams. At that age, I hadn't experienced any significant losses. Death was a distant concept, almost like it couldn't touch me or the people I cared about. But the frequency of those dreams made me start to think about the inevitability of death. It was strange because I hadn't lost anyone close to me yet, so the idea of death felt surreal. But I knew that eventually it would become a reality. As a teenager, the fear of death grew. It wasn't that I wanted someone to die, but the absence of loss in my life made me anxious. It felt like a ticking time bomb, and I was always on edge, waiting for it to happen. I started to worry about my own mortality. Why hadn't I experienced loss yet? Why was death such a distant reality for me? I began to fear that maybe I was the one who would die next. Not in a suicidal way, of course not, but in a way that made me hyper aware of my mortality. It was like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. This fear consumed me at times, making it hard to enjoy life because I was so preoccupied with the thought of death. So when the pandemic hit, death felt closer than ever, for everybody, I guess. And I remember talking to a close friend whose dad passed away back in 2020. And for a moment, I projected myself into his situation and thought about losing my own dad. It hit me hard, and I cried as if it were my own loss. This was my first real encounter with the impact of death on someone close to me. Shortly after, my first ex's dad passed away. We were very close with him, and his death hit me hard. It made me realize that I never got the chance to say goodbye to him. This was the first time I felt regret and sorrow over not having closure with someone I cared about. The loss felt personal, even though we weren't related. Then, my last ex's dad passed away while we were still together. That was the hardest experience I've ever had up to that point. Seeing her go through such immense pain was overwhelming. I felt her loss deeply, almost as if it were my own. It was a powerful lesson in empathy and love, but also a harsh reminder of how fragile life is. About 6 months later, my stepdad passed away. I called him Rebe. He was really special, and I never thought it would have been possible to love someone just because they loved my mom so much. That was the main reason, really. He was so in love with my mom, and I could feel it, and that was all that mattered. Not only that, but he really was amazing. From the beginning, he showed how much he cared about us three. I had the opportunity to know him, learn from him, and see my mom like I had never seen her before for around 6 years. And it was worth it. I remember the last time I saw him so vividly, and I wish I could hear his voice again, feel his hugs, look him in the eyes, shake his hand, and hear his shy laugh. And I really miss him. It's been almost 3 years now, and it feels like it was just yesterday. And I don't know if the memories are going to fade away eventually. I hope not. Also, my dog passed away about a month before Rebe. Her death affected me more than I expected. She had become a part of my life, and losing her was another painful reminder of the impermanence of life. For me, truly believing that death can happen anytime makes me live more fully. I guess I can extrapolate what I feel with a pet to what I feel with a person, in terms of not assuming I will outlive them for a fact. I don't want to wait until I'm way older to start enjoying life and giving it the value it deserves. I want to make every day count, just like a dog does, I guess. Every day is a new day to enjoy while I'm still here. Remember when I mentioned how distant death felt to me? Well, in 2020 and 2021, it became a significant part of my life. It was real. It was finally knocking on my door, and it was overwhelming. And I moved out of my country just 10 days after Rebe passed away. So in a way, my version from Guatemala also died that year as I began a new path in the States. My dad is now 66, and while he's healthy, the reality is that he's getting older. And I've come to terms with the fact that our time together is limited. Living far away from him makes it harder. But I cherish every visit. If I see him twice a year, and he lives for another 20 years, let's say, and I assume I will be alive still during those 20 years, that's only 40 more visits. This realization pushes me to make each moment count, and I've learned to enjoy his company and treasure every second we have together. This awareness of death has made our relationship even stronger. We make the most of our time, knowing it won't last forever. This has become a promise to myself, to always make my loved ones know how much I care and to never take their presence for granted. So this episode is a promise to myself and a message to all of you to make the most of the time you have with your loved ones. We all know death is inevitable, but that makes life precious. So let the people you care about know how much you love them. Live fully, so when the final goodbye comes, there are no regrets. Each moment with your loved ones is priceless. So don't wait for a special occasion to show your love and appreciation. Yo soy Bruno, and I'll see you in the next one.